Hey friends and family, hey loved ones, hey fools. How's it going today? How are you feeling? What's coming up? So it's been an interesting week, like it always is, and I just wanted to share a few things that I've been working with and playing through for the last 11 days. Looking at my old journal here from last month that I filled up and I finished, I think on the 24th, May 24th. And just kind of like reviewing and looking at some things and continuing my process of healing and revealing and discovering and letting go. Yeah, surrendering all the things I think I know so that I can be right here and trust in this flow and yeah, be in the flow. Just be fluid. It's okay to let go. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting week, and some of the energies have been pretty intense. And so it just made me want to get out my board as well that I made last week. I kind of mentioned it in one of my last videos about the man and the woman here on the roller coaster. It's an intense ride. And then I have like some other symbols here. I don't know if you'll be able to see them very well, but yeah, that is my board here. So there's there's a lot of different symbols, and for some reason, this little picture right here I included with this. And it says true stories of the Spanish Inquisition, because there have been like those persecution themes, you know, like that I've been resolving within myself, and like, yeah, confronting and examining like those fears and those old patterns of, you know, feeling like the scapegoat and the exile and the outcast and the reject and the outsider. And so, yeah, I just kind of included that. Like, there's this explosion and there's this chaos happening. And yeah, just was looking through some of my National Geographic magazines that I got for the pictures, you know. And yeah, I just found that in there. So I just decided, yeah, this belongs with this board here. I'll just read what it says. True stories of the Spanish Inquisition. The Catholic Church's persecution of hearsay was feared all over Europe and in few places more than Spain. Beginning in 1478 and finally ending in 1834, the Spanish Inquisition resulted in the arrest, torture, execution, and subjugation of Spain's citizens in the pursuit of hegemony. Nearly 400 years of accounts reveal the effect on Spain's people, the horrific fates of the accused, the kinds of people targeted and their alleged crimes, and the paranoia gripping an entire society as the Inquisition's spy network turned neighbors, friends, and families against each other. And so it does relate. There's some parallels that we can draw to what's going on today. And yeah, and it does have a lot to do with our unaddressed fears and our unclaimed power, and obedience, blind obedience to authority or to the group think mentality, the hive mind or the group mind. And a lot of that does tie in, and I do have like some of my animal companions on this board too, to help me remember, like armadillo medicine, boundaries, and boar medicine, wild boar, the truth, and confronting the truth, confronting our fears and being honest with ourselves, and yeah, and honoring ourselves and honoring the tribe. And there's a kraken. I'm not exactly sure, yeah, but I feel like, yeah, that may represent some of those fears, yeah, that get to be confronted. And then there's porcupine medicine over here. Over here. And that's like playfulness and trust. And then dragonfly medicine, about power. And remembering that we don't need to prove our power. And if we try to prove our power, then we lose our power. And so, just kind of looking at all those things. Just remembering that it is a ride, and just remember to be here and enjoy the ride. Enjoy it as much as I can and let go. Let go and allow the ride. And just be aware and be conscious of my response and my responsibilities. Get centered and aware. So, I've been singing this week a lot more, singing and chanting. Been taking a few naps because I've been like really tired and feeling like some emotional fatigue and almost like spiritual burnout, but just taking care of myself and responding and doing the best I can to take care of me, to take care of my well-being needs, and honor what my body, my soul, my heart is asking me, and opening and softening and yielding, surrendering, accepting, and being in that flow state of receptivity. And today, I opened up my medicine card, the book, because I was going to go back and look at Weasel, because I drew Weasel and Dragonfly last week or a couple days ago, but I flipped open to Otter again and read about Otter, and Otter was perfect for me today. And Otter is about like that balanced woman, and that trusting in the universe to provide. And trusting life and being playful. And there was just like a couple notes that I took down about that today. So drop the seriousness. So it's like looking at like these fears that I have, and confronting and examining them, and just working with them and playing with them and being curious and open, not trying to change anything, but like responding to like what I'm becoming aware of. So Otter medicine, like the fear of being rejected. Drop the seriousness on all levels and play at life so that fear rolls off your back. Realize that the only flow is the flow of love from Great Spirit to you, from you to others, and from others back to you. Flow with the waters of the universe. This is the way of balanced female receptive energy. Honor it. In doing so, you will discover the power of women. So, I thought that was pretty great. And I have noticed like that I have been guided to balance certain aspects of the feminine and the masculine so that they can work in harmony together. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple months, like consciously, like in certain ways where I was having like certain dreams with a lot of male characters, and so I was kind of looking at like the masculine qualities and like that masculine, sacred masculine energy within myself, and how it can help me like structure and order things. And and it's just kind of funny, like in a lot of ways where sometimes we have excesses or deficiencies, and those create imbalances. And then once there's a correction taking place, like it does affect the other areas. And it's interesting, like to see like the expansion and then the integration and then the new sense of balance, or like coming into balance again, so that there is like more room to expand and all those things. So it is like a continuous process. So it's kind of fun to look at. And then another animal companion that came up for me last week, a couple days ago, Ant medicine, trust and patience, honor the will of Great Spirit, strategy of patience. Ant is a builder like beaver, aggressive like badger, has a stamina like elk, scrutiny like mouse, and the giveaway generosity like turkey. So trust in the universe to provide. Service to the whole, and the whole serves you. So the weasel medicine, what I wrote down about weasel was stealth, observation, observe who or what needs attention or a solution, and offer your assistance in your own quiet or discreet way. Honesty to self and others is of the utmost importance. Observe the obvious. No one can fool you if you watch your step, honor your knowing, use discretion, and seek the hidden reasons. Well, that was pretty awesome. It's just been like following my curiosity and just observing the obvious. Like, what am I aware of? And so it's like, yeah, not what I'm aware of out there, but what am I aware of here? Like right here, like in right now. I'm aware of my body. Sometimes I'll become aware that like I'm holding a lot of tension in my shoulders. And then I'll like breathe and I'll relax and I'll let it go, you know. What am I aware of? I'm aware that I feel thirsty right now, so I will take a drink. So I've just been asking myself questions. And yeah, just not even like pressuring myself to have the answer or anything, but just putting the questions out there. And then if there is an answer available, yeah, we'll receive that answer. But I'm willing to like let them unfold and let them come through, receive them as I'm aware and as it unfolds or is given or offered in divine order and divine timing. All those good things. And so May 19th was kind of feeling like, yeah, some really intense things. And I know we've had solar flares and the Schumann resonance has been like doing some interesting things. There's been some like crazy spikes, of course. And yeah, just new energies coming in. And of course, like potent energy portal of the eclipse that we just had. And we're in the middle of that potent season of clearing and cleansing and purifying and illuminating that which has been hidden. So yeah, there's just a lot coming up, and so it's just like one moment at a time. So live in the present and be here now. And it helps. It does help, yeah, to recenter for sure. And so on May 19th, I've been feeling a little bit of nausea this week and some gut imbalances. What do I get to choose to care for me more fully and compassionately? Showing up, surrendering and opening, softening and yielding, releasing all that is no longer mine to burden myself with and carry. And I have been working on allowance and acceptance and awareness. So awareness and acceptance and allowance and response. Yeah, so if I can become aware of what is, and then I'm more able to respond in a conscious way, in a way that honors my well-being and all others in their own ways. Yeah. And so I had mentioned last time, I was getting like that awareness is the first step. Awareness is the first step to healing and to responding in a conscious way. So awareness is the first step and acceptance is the second. Like to be able to work with it and play with it and let it be what it is. And then there's the room, for that potential, for that change. And so I had been looking at all of these, I guess, lower emotions and negative attachments, or just attachments in general. Like that, keep me on the wheel of suffering and contribute, to those dynamics of pain, blame, shame, and suffering. And so being willing to forgive and to have compassion and understanding and empathy, but observing like certain stories and certain archetypal aspects that come up in my mental streams and in my internal stories, and present to me an internal conflict that I have. And so I've just been working with those things, and I do feel like a lot more at ease and at peace. I sure do, but I'm still working through like some of these things, and it's like, yeah, there's more acceptance about some of it, and it does roll off my back a lot easier, and I'm able to like surrender. Yeah, it's a lot easier, just like letting go, like just with practicing and being willing. And so, yeah, on the 19th, I just wrote, maybe I'll just accept the fact that there are many idiots and they still are worthy of love and allowance. And I guess if that's what they choose to be, then they can be that. But what also might they be, or be playing at being, yeah, for me and we? Just because they may not get it, or they don't see through the lies or the programs of conditioning. They don't see the wolf's teeth and the talons beneath the sheep's clothing. They don't see the ways they're being used, mocked, and destroyed, and they don't see the ways they've been entranced and hypnotized. They don't see the ways they've played into these lies. They don't see the ridiculousness of the huge whopper lies and their upside-down lives. They don't see through themselves and what they choose to hide. I can forgive them for not knowing. I am willing to forgive them all. I choose to forgive them, and I choose to practice, hold, and have compassion and allowance. I understand they've been terrorized and terrified. They got sucked into the lies, the groupthink, mob mentality, and the deep bone-chilling fears of death, disease, and instability. Whirled upside down, the rug pulled out from under our feet, lost in the ocean of samsara and recycled pain, shame, and blame. I let go of the need to make them see or understand or convince them of anything, because I was still going around in loops in my head where I would see something and I would be like, oh, like it was like the dick measurer or the the scorekeeper, or that was like I'd see something and I'd be like, check, check, check. That proves my point. That proves my point. That proves my point. You know. And so it was just like, okay, like, what else can I do with this? Like, I'm aware that this is coming up because it's a strategy for me to add to my little checklist of here's all the reasons why I'm right, and there's all the reasons why they're wrong. And it's just like, I'm kind of tired of that silly song. So it's like, what else? What else is there? What other pattern can I create that's more aligned and more true for me, like with the new ways that I am operating? So just kind of looking at those things. So I allow and accept them. I am willing to accept them just as they are. Whether they're blind, lost, afraid, and confused, wandering, bargaining, dismembered, disoriented, prideful, angry, cut off, self-righteous, lost in grief, shame, guilt, fixated hope, and paralyzed in dark fear, unaddressed dark fear, hypocrisy, suffering, and doublespeak. I can choose compassion for them and all of their experiences, feelings, maybe their possible feelings of loneliness, sadness, addiction, madness, distraction, isolation, repression, oppression, self-made suffering, pain, fear, and disease. I know they are doing their best right where they're at, as they be. They don't know how hard that they cling to false comfort and disease, and their own false histories, to continue their stories and live fantasies, to stay in their comfort zones of what they've been programmed and conditioned to believe. So, how can I more fully expand and free myself from my own chains of self-made suffering and mind slavery, my addictions and choices that no longer serve me and we? What what else can I surrender and what can I release? What can I let go of and what can I free? What can I allow, accept, and let go for me and we? I can let go of my anger, my grief, my pride, my pain, my expectations, my... So I got cut off for a second, but I'll continue. Um, So what can I allow, accept, and let go of for me and we? I can let go of my anger, my grief, pride, pain, expectations, and fears, my cravings, desires, fixated hopes, and idealized dreams, idealized fantasies. Sending love to the inner dork and the idiot. Allow all the folly, ignorance, and wisdom. Allow them their journey and their awakening. Choose joy and participate in the sorrows of the world. Your joy will burn out the pain. Thank you, adversaries, friends, familiars, and family. Yeah, thank you to my tribe and my human soul family for these lessons and this gift and helping me realize and discover who I am and who I get to be. Compassion, presence, awe, surrender, gratitude, joy, receptivity, curiosity, acceptance, allowance, generosity, humility, remembering I am that and I am willing. So we are the ones we love and we need. Thank you for forgiveness and the gifts of release. Thank you for the surrender and all the beauty and joy, fullness, love, and goodness, and all we get to be and experience. Share together. Thank you for the gift of feeling, healing, and revealing, remembering all that's really true and all we really are, who we always are. Yeah, love is all we are. Thank you for the process, the journey, the path, the gifts, the discovery, and the love that is. So making peace with the bullshitters, the storytellers, and the clowns, the heroes, the villains, the monsters, the leaders, the followers, the teachers, the dunces, the perfect pets, the included and the excluded, better and lesser than. Competition, survival, status quo comparison, standards of comparison, right and wrong, moralism, isms, schisms, circles of shame, guilt, pride, and narcissistic codependence, samskaras, samsara, vampiric dynamics, and unconscious survival strategies, the hijacking of the mind, yeah, biohacking, yeah, all those things. Just looking at those things. And so looking at pride and the jealousy, fear, shame, guilt, vanity, greed, ignorance, and the wheel of suffering, recycled pain and dis-ease, cock-blocking, paralyzing, rigid ways of being, story loops, and toxic links of slavery. All is mind, thought, and memory. A mind, or is it mind, thought, will, intention, presence, reception, trust, faith, protection, love, acceptance, attention, allowance, transcendence, surrender, suspension, letting go? Or are we clinging to the familiar comfort zones of what we think we know? I am willing to trust and listen, letting go, letting go, letting go. Allowing this process to unfold, I am willing to act, I am willing to be still, I am willing to open, I am willing to let go. Willing to be present and respond. So looking into the lens of the judge, the tyrant, the prude, the superego, the know-it-all, the guard or the guardian, the wounded child, the watcher, the overseer, the fixer, the manager, the boss, the leader, the enforcer, the perfectionist, the idealist, and the clueless observer, the orphan, the addict, the fraud and usurper, saboteur, self-conscious feral woman, villain, scapegoat, martyr, victim, denier, miser, caregiver, romantic, enchantress, mother, lover, magician, maiden, and gardener. Seeing how I get in my own way, the shadow magician and the judge, tyrant, nitpicker, self-doubter, skeptic, beggar, the beggar, and the overthinker. The storyteller, sage, slave, hedonist, hoarder, dark controller, sacrificial lamb, bitch, asshole, selfish martyr, damsel in distress, and the witch doctor. Yeah. So I looked at some things yesterday, and I can see where I'm pretty rigid with myself and hard on myself, expecting so much of myself, not really allowing myself to fully be human. LOL. It's like I need to be a super angel or super perfect, whatever perfect is. That's so ridiculous. So perfectly perceived, perfectly received, perfectly present, perfectly seen, perfectly understood, and perfectly clear, perfectly hollow, perfectly cheered, perfectly loved, and so I can perfectly appear, perfectly fake, forced, fixed, and frozen. Am I frozen in time? Oh, those are funny rhymes. Like there's some kind of program that reinforces these lies, that we're not enough as we are, or I'm not enough as I am. So, looking at those lies, looking at those myths and stories and lies, what else can I choose? Trust, awareness, acceptance, and letting go. Willingness, humility, compassion, gratitude, empathy, forgiveness, allowance, inclusivity, boundaries, and my responsibility. Surrender, receptivity, intention, attention, and centering, recentering. Breathing, letting go, and remembering the love I need, the love I am, is right here. Willing, I am willing to allow this healing, this unifying process to unfold and play itself out. And though I walk through the shadow or the valley of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff. Yeah, something like that. I surrender the outcome in the process. I accept that we are purging, purifying, and cleansing our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits from all this garbage and toxicity. Yeah. All those garbage lies. All these imbalances and distortions of our energy, transforming and transmuting all this misdirected energy through a cleansing by fire and collective soul douche of the sacral center, unifying the two and integrating, harmonizing our dual natures so new love can be born in and through life truth. So what am I in resistance to? Where am I blocking myself? And how am I blocking myself or disallowing my energy to be moved? Yeah, or let it be moved through me, or to be stilled? Where am I supporting life and myself in my new phases and stages of growth? How can I more fully contribute? How can I show up more fully to fully embody love's truth and all I truly am? Where can I show up and claim my responsibility, my value, my worth, and my truth, my integrity, my accountability? What can I surrender right now? And what can I accept or allow to exist right now? What am I unwilling to let go of and why? What am I unable to surrender or relinquish? What is the payoff and what is the drag behind it? Where or what areas feel the most rigid, and where am I denying, dishonoring, disallowing life or myself to be as we are? So I'm feeling a little bit of emotional fatigue and I'm in a little burnout. The collective is experiencing massive highs and lows, and it's a little bit exhausting. So I choose to let it all go. I choose to unburden myself and my soul. It's okay not to know, it's okay to let go and give it all back to God and the flow. Allow it to be and allow it to go. Let it exist. Let go of all this ego resistance and the fear, the false gods of the lower ego. So the false gods of change, yeah, because of the fear of change and feeling out of sorts or out of control. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. I allow and let go. I allow and accept that life feels uncertain and uncomfortable, unpredictable. I allow and accept this to be in the flow. I allow and accept and surrender control. I let go of the need to understand and to know. I allow this process to continue to unfold. I ask for help to get through this process of our huge letting go. Acceptance, trust, allowance, faith, compassion, willingness to move through or just be as I am right now. Allow others their process in their journey of healing, well wishes, and goodwill for all. So feeling so antsy lately, and if I'm feeling so uncomfortable, then others are probably as well. We're all moving through different layers of our own personal hells and wells. We really do all need each other. We're unbreakable together. We are enough as we are. I am enough as I am. Life is enough as she is. Love is enough as she is. There is enough as love gives, always. There is enough, always. Love always. And so I got to break up some of my ho-hum routine. I just do whatever I feel like, most days, because I don't have like the burden of having a job outside the home, and I just get to choose what I want every day. But it's like having that freedom, though. I actually can see sometimes where I enslave myself or where I disallow myself from choosing certain things that my soul really desires and needs. And also seeing some of those needs, like the physical needs that I kind of neglect in certain ways because they're inconvenient for me, or they seem like they're overwhelming in certain ways sometimes. And I know that those are false beliefs. So I'm willing to like allow it to exist without beating myself up about it and just kind of observe it and look at it, look into it, see into it, and ask, like, what else can I choose? And what am I in resistance to? Like, around this, like, what is this belief or this old story that says I'm unworthy or that I can't care for myself? Yeah, there's certain things that are coming up to the surface to be seen so that they can be purged and cleansed and transformed or released and healed. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been getting some sunshine lately and enjoyed a really, really nice walk around the pond with my husband this week. And I was kind of in resistance to that, but I really wanted to actually. So it was like, just get out of my own way. Stop clock-clocking myself from what's really good for me and what I really want to choose for me. So it's just like letting go and laughing at myself, and yeah, and also breathing love into those parts that don't feel worthy of love, and having compassion for myself. And when I know like certain things are like really ridiculous and they're not true for me, but there's a part of me that's asking for receptivity and for attention and for care. So like just paying attention to those things and responding. So hadn't really been out of the house for a little while, and now that it's warming up outside, I'm kind of feeling the cabin fever. Like there's this desire for something new or novel to break up the monotony of the ho-hum routines and the repetitive programs that are reinforced daily. I'm almost bored with this surface stability, and maybe that's blocked energy or an energy blockage that is contributing to my feelings of psychic fatigue and emotional burnout. So, endurance, strength, faith, grace, empathy, receptivity, trust, willingness, perseverance, allowance, make the room and make the space. Yeah, ant medicine, patience, community, and determination, chop wood, carry water, enjoy life, in service to the whole, redirect, intend, attend, surrender, and allow, respond, and invite. All I need right now. And yeah, today, May 31st. 2021, Moon Day, it's Memorial Day, thought and memory, memories and thoughts. Memories and thoughts about thought and memory. Teehee, that's pretty silly. Odin's raven messengers, the river Styx, the Myss of the underworld, the three-eyed raven, the world tree, the three fates, the sons of Mithras and their keywords, please give me a drink from the fountain of memory. Amnesiacs and the sacred record keepers, the Akashic records and the whales and dolphins, ancestors, stories, myths, songs, and soul-filled messages, teachers, raising our frequencies and shifting our realities, our divine will, through creation and cooperation, our thoughts, perceptions, attitudes, our ways of operating in the world, but not of it. So I read some things this weekend in Anatomy of the Spirit about addiction. So I get to refresh, look into, and investigate, explore, accept, surrender, allow, and integrate. Move towards, into, and through this stage and phase of transformation through surrender, opening, and letting go. The Red Dancing Shoes, Part 6. The expectations and false values, false gods and substitutions, the blind guardian, psychic trauma, and instinct injury. Instinct injured, resigned, shut down, well adjusted to a profoundly sick society until it all comes crashing down like the fiery tower that is misaligned and propped up through false stories and lies. Cutting the feet out from under her, the axe, initiation and the dismemberment, running away from our poor choices, poisons, and our wild natures, the rejection and betrayal of ourselves. So, yeah, that's what I've been looking into. So, yeah, the girl with the red dancing shoes I had talked about a couple days ago, and I kind of shared what I remembered of that story. And at the end of the fairy tale, these red dancing shoes that, yeah, they carried her away, and she was so exhausted and depleted because they had like, yeah, this power of their own that usurped her own power, because it was like a poor choice that she made, and a substitution for what she really needed was like that soul-made life and that authentic connection to life. But since that wasn't available, she chose another substitution. And yeah, it's ended up being way more painful than anything else. And she was begging to have her feet cut off by the end so she could stop dancing and stop being carried away and come back to herself. So, yeah, running away from our poor choices, poisons, yeah, and our wild natures, the rejection and betrayal of ourselves. So I've been looking at that, like I've been looking at like addiction and the choices that we make because we feel like what we really need or what we really desire, we're either not worthy of it, or it's not available to us, or we're denied in some way. It's been denied to us, you know. So yeah, I've been kind of following those themes and looking at some of those themes for the last little while, since I've been working with the exile and the outsider and the orphan and the outcast and the black sheep and like the scapegoat and all those survival strategies and these like patterns and these dynamics that I've noticed in certain relationships and certain stories, certain themes that come up that trigger certain fears and unconscious reactions that reinforce these links of slavery. So I wanted to share like just a little bit from Women Who Run with the Wolves, that chapter, Identifying Leg Traps, Self-Preservation, because it is so profound and it relates so well to what I'm working with and seeing into now. And also, I really super appreciated, I actually went back to this book, Anatomy of the Spirit, and found the most amazing gems and nuggets in there that just enhance and affirm my understanding of my own process and what we're going through as a collective as well. So it's really, really cool, like just to be open and just to go with the flow and just to receive and let go. So Carl Jung said that the group mind is the lowest form of consciousness because individuals involved in a negative group action rarely, if ever, accept responsibility for their personal role in action. This reality is the shadow side of the truth, all is one. Unwritten tribal law holds that the leaders accept responsibility and not the followers. And that's like one of the things that I've been pointing out from the very beginning is like, who are you more afraid of? Are you more afraid of people that ask questions and are a little bit different, or you're afraid of people who conform and go along without asking any questions and don't take responsibility? Yeah, because they're just following orders. They're just following orders, so no responsibility. So that's like very concerning to me, but what I can choose is to take my own responsibility and also like just share my own feelings, thoughts, and perceptions, and share vulnerably and authentically like the fears that I've experienced and that I am actively surrendering and letting go of, or making peace with, or accepting and becoming aware of. And so spiritual maturation can be seen as spiritual homopathy. And that's what I've been working with as well, like spiritual maturity, because in a lot of my internal stories there was that wounded parent and that wounded child, and definitely like the epicure, the eternal child, or the purella, I guess it's another word for it, the eternal child that doesn't want to grow up, like the Peter Pan themes and all that. So just kind of looking at all those things, and also like when I had read a little thing in Sacred Contracts, another book by Myss, a couple weeks ago, and I had flipped open to like a chapter, and it had told like some of the story. It broke down the like some of the archetypal themes in the Wizard of Oz, and that's like when that started to come to emerge about like the spiritual maturity and all those things as well. So I think that's pretty interesting. And so it relates like to the red shoes and yeah, all these themes of healing that wounded child and coming into like a new relationship with ourselves, of being accountable and honoring like our value, knowing our own value and our own worth and our own power, and our direct relationship and connection with and to God and to all of life, through all this life, through all that lives and gives and is. And so just a couple more things that I wrote down about from an energy perspective. Becoming conscious requires stamina. It is extremely challenging and often very painful to evaluate our own personal beliefs and separate ourselves from those that no longer support our growth. Change is the nature of life, and external and internal change is constant. When we change inwardly, we outgrow certain belief patterns and strengthen others. So, the universal human journey is one of becoming conscious, becoming aware of our power and how to use that power. Becoming conscious of the responsibility inherent in the power of choice represents the core of this journey. And so, the universal human journey is one of becoming conscious or becoming aware. So becoming conscious of our power and how to use that power. Becoming conscious of the responsibility inherent in the power of choice represents the core of this journey. From an energy perspective, becoming conscious requires stamina. It is extremely challenging and often very painful to evaluate our own personal beliefs and separate ourselves from those that no longer support our growth. Change is the nature of life, and external and internal change is constant. When we change inwardly, we outgrow certain belief patterns and strengthen others. So looking at like some of the chakras, she goes into like, yeah, the energy centers and all that. And I was looking at a couple because of certain imbalances that I have become aware of in those certain centers. So last time I was talking about the second chakra, which is the Swadhisthana, or the sacral center. And this time I was looking at the fifth center, or the fifth chakra, which is the voice, and also the sixth chakra, which is the third eye, and the crown chakra. And the fifth chakra, the active confession. And that's what I've been doing, like with these videos, is confession. And it's also kind of fun too, because I've heard it said that confession is Negrito in alchemy, the blackening, or the Negrito phase, or the blackening stage in alchemy is confession, or corresponds to confession. So the fifth chakra, this has to do with the active confession. It reclaims our spirits from the consequences of our choices. Symbolically, confession liberates our spirit from past fears and negative thought patterns. In energy terms, it is acknowledgement that we have become conscious of and therefore empowered over a fear that had previously commanded our spirits. Remaining attached to negative events and beliefs is toxic to our minds, spirits, cell tissue, and lives. Karma is the energy and physical consequences of the choices we make. Negative choices generate situations that recur in order to teach us how to make positive choices. So choices that empower and support us rather than disempower and deplete us. And so acts of confession signify that we recognize our responsibility for that which we have created, and that we realize the error of our choices. In energy terms, this ritual liberates our spirits from painful learning cycles and redirects us into the creative, positive energies of life. So essential is confession to the health of our minds, our bodies, and our spirits that we can't stop ourselves from confessing. The need to purge our spirits of guilt-ridden memories is stronger than our need for silence. So between the head and the heart, yeah, that's what I saw last time is like, after I recorded my last video and just like, yeah, looking into addictions and things and substitutions. So an imbalance of the head and the heart turns people into addicts. Any behavior motivated by the fear of internal growth qualifies as an addiction. So any behavior motivated by the fear of internal growth qualifies as an addiction. Even behavior that is usually healthy, considered healthy, exercise or meditation, can be an addiction. It can become an addiction, or it can be an addiction if it is used to avoid pain or personal insight. Any discipline can be a willful block between our conscious and unconscious mind saying, I want guidance, but don't give me any bad news. So it's like, yeah, picking and choosing, like, what we're going to see and what we refuse to see, like, yeah, in those ways. So the only way to break this pattern is to make choices that engage the united power of the mind and the heart. So the symbolic power of the Christian sacrament of confession is to receive or bestow the grace to cleanse one's spirit of negative acts of will. And acts of awareness create good karma or harmonious patterns. Acts of fear or negativity create bad karma or dissonant patterns, discordant patterns. In which case one must retrieve one's spirit from the fear that motivated the negative action. In the Christian tradition, the Sacrament of Confession is the act of retrieving one's spirit from negative places in order to enter heaven complete. So everything is alive. Everything that's alive, it pulsates with energy, and all this energy contains information. We are constantly in communication with everything around us. And so it's like everything is alive and talking to you. Are you listening? Like, are you receptive? Are you open to what nature, to what she has to say? To what life has to say? So our lives are structured around power symbols: money, authority, title, beauty, and security. We often hesitate to challenge a person or a group or institution who we believe holds more power than we do. And we frequently agree to things because we believe we haven't the power to refuse. In countless situations and relationships, the underlying dynamic at work is the negotiation of power, who has it and how we can maintain our share of it. Our biological and spiritual systems always seek to express the truth, and they will always find a way to do so. Loving oneself as a path to the divine. The wounded child within each of us contains the damaged or stunted emotional patterns of our youth, patterns of painful memories, of negative attitudes, and of dysfunctional self-images. Unknowingly, we may continue to operate within these patterns as adults, albeit in a new form. These patterns can damage our emotional relationships, our personal and professional lives, and our health. A child's negative self-image can later become the source of dysfunctions such as anorexia, obesity, alcoholism, and other addictions, as well as an obsessive fear of failure. Loving oneself begins with confronting this archetypal force within the psyche and unseating the wounded child's authority over us. If unhealed, wounds keep us living in the past. So detachment. Detachment does not mean ceasing to care. It means stilling one's own fear. It means stilling one's fear-driven voices. One who has attained an inner posture of detachment has a sense of self so complete that external influences have no authority within his or her consciousness. Such clarity of mind and self is the essence of wisdom, one of the divine powers of the sixth chakra. Applying detachment. Becoming detached and conscious means getting certain perceptions from our minds into our bodies. It means merging with perceptions that are truth and living them so that their power becomes one and the same as our own energy. Consciousness is the ability to release the old and embrace the new with awareness that all things end at the appropriate time and all things begin at the appropriate time. The truth is difficult to learn to live with because human beings seek stability, the absence of change. Therefore, becoming conscious means living fully in the present moment, knowing that no situation or person will be exactly the same tomorrow. Our task is to contribute the best of our energy to every situation with the understanding that we influence but do not control what we will experience tomorrow. The meaning of detachment, the realization that no one person or group of people can determine your life's path. Thus, when change comes into your life, it is because of a larger dynamic that is moving you along. Consciousness and its connection to healing, our attitudes, changing our attitudes. So our attitudes play a tremendous role in creating or destroying our health, the health of our bodies. Anger, bitterness, rage, and resentment handicap the healing process or abort it entirely. Healing requires unity of mind and heart, and generally it is the mind that needs to be adjusted to our feelings, which too often we have not honored in the daily choices we have made. One aspect of becoming conscious is to live in the present moment and appreciate each day. So gratitude, connection, and service. Yeah, those are 3 of the pillars of being happy, and the 4th one is expansion. So that relates. And spiritual awakening, the crown chakra. The stages of separation from the tribal or group mind. At each stage comes experiences of exquisite mystical transcendence, as well as feelings of depression, madness, and extraordinary isolation unknown to ordinary human experience. And so, spiritual awakenings, the stages. So this was from page 268, I believe, from Anatomy of the Spirit. And I thought that was very exactly what I needed to see, because I have been looking at unity and division. And I know that is one of the forces of creation. And sometimes we do need to separate certain things so that we can come back together. So, sometimes we do need to cut certain things away. Sometimes it seems like we're just detach from certain things so that we can come back together in a new way, in a more true and aligned, full way. So much has been written about the nature of the personal spiritual journey, but one of the first works remains one of the best known, The Dark Night of the Soul, written in the 16th century by St. John of the Cross. In this classic work, the author articulated the stages of separation from the tribal or group mind, that's Caroline's terminology, that are necessary in order to form a fully conscious bond with the divine. At each stage come experiences of exquisite mystical transcendence, as well as feelings of depression, madness, and extraordinary isolation unknown to the ordinary human experience. Spiritual crisis and the need for devotion, because I've also been looking at devotion as well. My devotion to the ocean, that is she. In seeking union with the divine, we are asking to have all physical, psychological, and emotional illusions removed from our lives. Once this process of removal begins, we awaken an internal voice of authority that immediately begins to compete with every external authority in our lives, which can throw us into internal turmoil or even spiritual schizophrenia. Spiritual crisis and the need for devotion. Devotion commits a part of our conscious minds to our unconscious eternal self, which in turn connects us to a divine presence. Our need to be devoted to a higher power has found numerous inappropriate surrogates or substitutions. Devotion to a corporation, to a political party, to an athletic team, a personal exercise program, or even a street game. All these earthbound surrogates will eventually fail the devotee. Devotion, not obsession, but devotion is an extremely healing and comforting force. Prayer is not so much our words to God as our life with God. When this is understood, prayer becomes energy medicine. Prayer represents one's conscious connection with God. Our goal while on this earth is to transcend our illusions and discover the innate power of our spirit. We are responsible for what we create, and we must therefore learn to act and think with love and wisdom and to live in service to others and all of life. God is love, and he who is in love is in God, and God in him. Meister Eckhart. The soul is one with God. Live in the present moment. So those are just some fun things that I got to look at. And Spiritual maturity, the act of finding our own voice, even in mini revolutions, is spiritually significant. Spiritual maturity is the capacity to stand one's ground as a reflection of a genuine inner belief. It is not measured by the sophistication of a person's opinions, but by their genuineness and the courage necessary to express and maintain them. Yes, I'll just leave it at that and ask what else wants to be shared. What else wants to be shared? So, from May 20th, I'm definitely feeling some shifts this week, shedding old layers one by one, letting go and surrendering all this love. So love is free to be as one. To be received completely, compassion, love, and understanding. Love is free to be. Softening, opening, yielding, receptivity, forgiveness, mercy, grace, and humility. Gratitude, joy, and responsibilities. Gifts, blessings, miracles. Returning home to me, we, she, and thee. Symbols, signs, and synchronicities. Play, practice, a willingness to be. Alchemy, healing, and accountability. Initiation, activation, and remembering. Finding love in the underworld. I almost said in the wonder world. Finding love in the wonder world. Finding love in me. I am that, I am that. I am all that I seek. Tatwa Masi. Aham Prima. I am divine love. I am all this love. I know that I am. I am all I truly love. Choosing love for me today, so many possibilities. Movement, songs, and chanting, creativity. Paint, tools, and inspiration, joy, love, and play, collage and meditation, receptivity, reading, writing, learning, communicating, channeling, receiving, deep listening, curiosity, intuition, intention, awareness, attention, presence, faith, and mindfulness, gratitude, and grace, inspiration, ideas, and possibilities, goals, dreams, pursuits, and showing up, so be. There are just a couple things I would like to close with from Identifying Lane Traps and Self-Preservations, number 6, page 258, from The Red Dancing Shoes, trap number 6, Cringing Before the Collective Shadow Rebellion. And I so identify with this, and this is so profound, and this is so huge for me to have found this story in here, and this part of it I can really, really relate to, because it's exactly what I am acknowledging and becoming aware of, and that I've been working with some of these themes for the past couple of years, but now seeing into new layers of them, and really why I felt so resentful of certain people in my life and certain relationships and certain dynamics, and it makes so much sense now, and why I was so hard on myself, and how I absorbed certain myths and stories and lies and standards of false perfection and the false gods, the false fears, the false light, and the false life, that it's just substitution for a soulful life and for a true, full, wildish, life, because of the things that I believed I had to hide to survive. And now it's just unlearning all those things and letting go of all those things, forgiving all those things, and having compassion for myself and for the poor choices that I've made in my life. And also I've been looking at a lot of those archetypes, the victim and the judge. And every time I do become aware of myself blaming someone or something on the outside, I immediately realize, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for helping me to see or to realize or to recognize or to accept or to become aware of, what's really true and what I can see through my real eyes, instead of this inverted lens of the judge's lens, the judge's eyes. So, of that little I am sometimes, and operate and source from that I am presence rather than that egotism, little I am, or I am not. So, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but maybe I will just see what wants to be shared here. So sometimes the collective pressures a woman to be a saint, to be enlightened, to be politically correct, to have it together in order for each of her endeavors to amount to an opus. If we cringe before the collective and acquiesce to pressures for mindless conformity, we are protected from exile, but at the same time also treacherously endanger our wildish lives. Some think that the times are past when if a woman was called wild, she was being cursed. If she was wild, meaning acting her natural soul self, she was labeled wrong and bad. It is not so that these times are over. What has changed are the types of behaviors that are considered out of control for women. For instance, in various parts of the world today, if a woman takes a stand politically, socially, spiritually, familially, environmentally, if she points out that some particular emperor has no clothes, or if she speaks for those who are hurt or who are without a voice, too often her motives are examined to see if she has gone wild. That is crazy. For a wild child born into a rigid community, the usual outcome is to experience the ignominy of being shunned. Shunning treats the victim as if she does not exist. It withdraws spiritual concern, love, and other psychic necessities from that person. The idea is to force her to conform, or else to kill her spiritually, and or to drive her from the village to languish and die in the outback. If a woman is shunned, it is almost always because she has done or is about to do something in the wildish range, oftentimes something as simple as expressing a slightly different belief or wearing an unapproved color. Small things as well as large ones. It must be remembered that an oppressed woman not so much refuses to fit in as she cannot fit without also dying. Her spiritual integrity is at stake, and she will try to be free in whatever ways are available, even if they put her at risk. So, cringing before the collective, shadow rebellion. The child sneaks on the red shoes, marches off to church, and pays no attention to what swirls around her, is reviled by the community. Members of the village tell on her. She is chastised. The red shoes are taken away, but it is too late. She is hooked. The issue is not yet obsession, rather that the collective inspires and strengthens her inner starvation by demanding capitulation to its narrow values. You can try to have a secret life, but sooner or later the superego and negative complex and or the culture itself will hail down. It is hard to hide an unsanctioned something that you are ravenous about. It is hard to hide stolen pleasures even when they are not nourishing ones. The nature of negative complexes and cultures is to pounce upon any discrepancy between the consensus about what is acceptable behavior and the individual's differing impulse. Just as some people go mad to see a single leaf upon their walkway, negative judgment draws out its saws to amputate any member that does not conform. And I'll just leave it there. But there is this from the previous page where I might include. So, while we could rightfully be proud of the soul brave enough to try to sneak a something and anything under such drought conditions, the fact remains that alone cannot be the sole issue. A whole psychology has to include not only body, mind, and spirit, but also equally culture and environment. And in this light, it must be asked at each level how it came to be that any individual woman feels she has to cringe, flinch, grovel, and plead for a life that is her own to begin with. What is in any culture that demands such? Inquiring into the pressures created by each layer of the inner and outer worlds will preclude a woman from thinking that sneaking the devil's shoes is in any way a constructive choice at all. So interesting. So When a woman refuses to support the dry collective, she refuses to stop her wild thinking, and her actions follow accordingly. The red shoes, in essence, teaches us that the wild psyche must be properly protected by unequivocally valuing it ourselves, by speaking out in its interest, by refusing to submit to psychic unhealth. We also learn that the wild, because of its energy and beauty, is always eyed by somebody or other, something or other, some group or other, for trophy purposes, or as a thing to be reduced, altered, ruled on, murdered, redesigned, or controlled. The wild always needs a guardian at the gate, or it will be misused. When the collective is hostile to a woman's natural life, rather than accept the derogatory or disrespectful labels that are placed upon her, she can and must, like the ugly duckling, hold on, hold out, and search for that which she belongs to, and preferably outlive, outthrive, and outcreate those who vilified her. The problem with the girl in the red shoes is that instead of becoming strong for the fight, she is often la-la land, captured by the romance of those red shoes. The important thing about rebellion is that the form it takes to be effective. The important thing about rebellion is that the form it takes to be effective. The girl's fascination with the red shoes actually keeps her from a meaningful rebellion, one that would promote change, give a message, cause an awakening. I wish I could say that by now all the traps for women no longer exist, or that women are so wise that they can spot the traps from far off, but it is not so. We still have the predator in the culture, and it still tries to undercut and destroy all consciousness and all bids for wholeness. There is much truth to the saying that freedoms have to be fought for anew every 20 years. Sometimes it seems they have to be fought for every 5 minutes. But the wild nature teaches us that we meet challenges as they occur. When wolves are badgered, they don't say, "Oh no, not again." They bound, pounce, run, dive, scramble, play dead, go for the throat, whatever needs to be done. So we cannot be shocked that there is entropy, deterioration, hard times. Let us understand that the issues that entrap women's joy will always shift and shape change, but in our own essential natures we find the absolute stamina, the necessary libido for all necessary acts of heart. Wow. In addition, there is a very hidden aspect to most collectives that encourages oppression of women's wild, soulful, and creative lives, and that is the encouragement within the culture for women themselves to tell on one another and to sacrifice their sisters or brothers to strictures that do not reflect the relatedness found in the familial values of the feminine nature. These include not only the encouraging of one woman to inform on another and therefore expose her to punishment for behaving in a feminine and integral manner, for registering appropriate horror or dissension to injustice, but also the encouraging of older women to collude in the physical, mental, and spiritual abuse of women who are younger, less powerful, or helpless, and the encouraging of young women to dismiss and neglect the needs of women who are far older than they. So, wow, when the collective is hostile to a woman's natural life, rather than accept the derogatory or disrespectful labels that are placed upon her, she can and must, like the ugly duckling, hold on, hold out, and search for that which she belongs to, and preferably outlive, outthrive, and outcreate those who vilified her. So, I think I'll leave it at that. So, nope, maybe not. Unlike the child in the tale who allows the culture surrounding her to press her into even more dryness, sometimes the only alternative to cringing before a parched collective is to commit an act drenched in courage. This act need not necessarily be the earth-shaking variety. Courage means to follow the heart. There are millions of women who commit acts of great heart every day. It is not only the singular act that reshapes a dry collective, but also the continuation of those acts. As a young Buddhist nun once told me, water drips through stone. So, yeah, that gives me some more things to contemplate. Yeah, to contemplate and allow to percolate, so I can digest and assimilate and integrate all these things that I'm learning and receiving. And so, yeah, it does feel like that was one of my major resentments, was, yeah, that pressure to conform and to belong, and or to be seen as enough and to be seen as worthy. And then that anger and resentment, yeah, for or with like those that I felt and believed should have known better, and like kind of feeling that betrayal, feeling that betrayal. So the abandonment, betrayal, and rejection, and all those things, and healing those wounds of the psyche, and confronting and examining like all those fears that relate to those past traumas and those psychic wounds. Yeah. And so really like looking into and seeing through all these archetypal themes, and it's just pretty amazing like how if I let go and allow, like I can receive everything that I need. So I do trust the universe to provide, and I do trust myself, and I do trust life. So I'm grateful, and I'm humble, and I'm excited for all that is, and for all that will be, and for all that's unfolding now, like through me and me, through you, me, and you, through all this love that we be, all this love that we get to choose, all this love that we can create, because we are the love that we need for we, and we can choose to be all that we are and all that we need. And we can choose to allow ourselves and accept ourselves and become aware and be that love for ourselves just as we are right here. So, thanks for listening, and thanks for being here. I love y'all. Be well and be true. Be love for yourself. Take good care of you. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye for now.